around 2.2% of our GDP for this, a total of up to 200 billion euro. That is both forceful and proportionate. It will give your companies the reliable energy prices and the planning certainty you need to invest in Germany's transformation. In the European Union, we have agreed on joint targets for gas filling and saving. We will purchase gas jointly more often and coordinate storage better. And we will use our market power to ensure that European prices do not decouple completely from the world market. Moreover, we are also aware of our global responsibility. Let me say this expressly to our friends and partners in Asia, Africa, Latin America and the Caribbean. The fact that we Europeans purchase LNG on the world market must not lead to scarcity elsewhere. We will need alternatives for the roughly 120 billion cubic meters of gas from Russian pipelines missing from the world market. More renewables, of course, but also temporarily additional gas resources. Otherwise, there is a danger that without affordable gas, emerging economies in particular might switch back to coal. This would be even more harmful to the environment. Of course, we must avoid new lock-ins, new path dependencies at all costs by making new projects HO2 ready from the very outset and by expanding renewables in parallel. In the short term, this may lead to higher costs. However, in the long term, we all stand to save if the impact of climate change is less dramatic. In Germany too, switching to a climate-friendly economy will take efforts. We are talking about investments around 400 billion euro for the expansion of renewables between now and 2030. Investments, by the way, which are already well underway. The most recent example is a contract worth billions for Siemens Energy to connect a new offshore wind park to the grid. And this is just one example illustrating why this turning point towards a climate-friendly industry is not the end of our industrial powerhouse, but a new start. After all, even before the energy crisis that Russia triggered, Germany's business model was not only based on the energy-intensive mass production of aluminium, cement or crude steel, but on highly specialized research and technology-intensive industrial products that are needed all around the world. All the more so, actually, when the world is now transitioning towards a climate-neutral future. Even before Russia's war of aggression, Germany's energy prices were not the lowest. And yet Germany was and remains competitive. This is because of thousands of small and medium-sized enterprises all across the country. Enterprises that are highly innovative and adaptable, which explains why they are so often global leaders. This is thanks to high public and private investment in research and development, which, for example, ensured that the first COVID-19 test and the first safe and effective COVID-19 vaccine were developed in Germany. Just in December, a team at the Helmholtz Center in Berlin set a new world record for the efficiency of solar cells. And now, just a few weeks later, our companies are already setting up pilot lines for the use of these tandem cells. That, ladies and gentlemen, is and remains the German business model, particularly now as we chart our path to a climate-neutral future. Where else is there such broad consensus between businesses, employees and politics that the path to climate neutrality is not just ecologically necessary, but also offers new opportunities in global competition? When it comes to basic and professional training for employees, for example, politics, business and trade unions in Germany are working hand in hand. And before the year is out, our country will finally benefit from modern immigration legislation. After all, if we want to remain competitive as a leading industrial nation, we need experienced practitioners, qualified engineers, tradesmen and mechanics. Those who want to roll up their sleeves are welcome in Germany. That is our message. For decades now, the forecasts have been predicting a shrinking German population. But it is up to us to decide whether this happens. So far, it certainly hasn't. Today, Germany has more inhabitants and employed persons than ever before. And this is precisely the trend we are going to continue. Ladies and gentlemen, a climate-neutral future is, needless to say, not something any single country can achieve on its own. That is why our dialogue and a forum like Davos are so crucial. What we are doing in Germany also serves the goal of making Europe the first climate-neutral continent by 2050. At the European level, we are going to lower our net greenhouse gas emissions by at least 55% by 2030 compared to 1990. This decision stands. Here, we are relying on the market, on competition and on innovation. The EU's emission trading system is a case in point. Even today, we are using it to cut permissible emission levels in a way that is predictable for all. At the same time, this system is serving as a catalyst for innovation. But to ensure the most ambitious are not disadvantaged, we prepare around the carbon border adjustment mechanism in Europe. At the same time, however, Europe remains open for international trade. I am doing my utmost to ensure that the free trade agreements we have successfully negotiated with Canada, Korea, Japan, New Zealand and Chile will soon be followed by new ones with Mercosur, India and Indonesia. And we are also open to discuss a tariff agreement for the industrial sector with the United States. Though these agreements, we are creating a level playing field and we are preventing high-emission industries from heading off to countries with less ambitious climate targets. This is also the aim of the International Climate Club we launched during Germany's G7 presidency. A secretariat has recently been set up at the OECD and the International Energy Agency. So the club is now open to new ambitious members. In the United States, this ambition has a name, the Inflation Reduction Act. Some $370 billion have been earmarked for energy and climate change mitigation over the next 10 years. I very much welcome this investment. Through the German Climate and Transformation Fund, we have made almost 180 billion euro available ourselves for the period of 2023 to 2026. But local content requirements for certain products must not result in discrimination against European businesses. Protectionism hinders competition and innovation and is detrimental to climate change mitigation. We, as EU members, are talking to our American friends about this. And at the same time, we are looking at what we ourselves can do to further improve investment conditions here in Europe. The CHIPS Act, for instance, has brought about a new start for chip manufacturing in Europe. Investors are starting new production plants for billions of euros. They can build on an existing semiconductor industry. This could become a model for other key technologies, particularly in the digital and climate sectors. And the funding is there for the taking. To date, only 20% of the more than 700 billion euro in the European Recovery Fund has been paid out. Its full impact will thus emerge over the coming years. To remain competitive, we will have to make European legislation on state aid more agile and flexible. just as European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has proposed and reaffirmed here yesterday. So that investors know in advance what support to expect and don't have to wait until years after their investment to find out. Ladies and gentlemen, the past year challenged us as seldom before. Yet, at the same time, we changed and moved things forward as seldom before. Germany itself is changing. If I may make a prediction, my successor will address you at the World Economic Forum in 2045. Sure. He or she will present Germany as one of the world's first climate-neutral industrial nations. Energy supplies in Germany and Europe will then be sourced almost exclusively from green electricity, heat and hydrogen. We will be moving emission-free on our roads and railroads. Our buildings will be energy efficient. Our businesses will be producing on a climate-neutral basis. And what is more, they are the ones who will have driven this transition, who will continue to drive it. So if you ask me today where you can invest in the future sustainably with a high return, my answer is, don't look any further. Come to us, to Germany and to Europe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chancellor. We have some questions from the floor. We have a microphone. I just want to say I look forward to chair the session with your successor.
I'm sure you will.
Chancellor, maybe until it's set up, you mentioned the patchwork of powers. Maybe one of the first question would be, how is Germany positioning itself in this patchwork of powers?
First, I think we will live in a multipolar world in 10, 20, 30 years. We already do, but this will be something we will understand much more in the years to come. And I'm sure that there will be not a bipolar world again with camps around two big nations or so. But the big task of all of us is that we make it feasible that this will be not a world with a lot of different strong powers, but also a world where cooperation is the reality, and this is why we have to work to make it multilateral, which I think is something about politics. And hopefully we started this year to make this happen. When I had the chance to preside G7, I invited democracies, Indonesia, India, South Africa, the head of the African Union, Senegal, the head of the speaker of the Latin American and Caribbean nations, Argentina, to the G7 meeting in Elmau in Germany. And this was intended to start on a dialogue on the same level, on understanding that they will be relevant and very important nations, and more to come to join them in the world, and that we cooperate. And the place of Germany in this world is supporting these processes, working very hard to make this good cooperation between nations from Asia, Africa, South of America, and West of Europe and North America and others working. But also understanding that this will only work if we do it as part of the European Union, that a strong and geopolitical sovereign European Union will be one of the important actors in this world.
Thank you. Let's collect maybe 2 or 3 questions. Someone with the microphone? And if you introduce yourself, please.
Yes. Hi, my name is Masih Ali Nejad. I'm an Iranian woman. As you know, these days, Iranian women are getting killed in the street just because of peacefully protesting. asking for dignity, democracy, and freedom. Revolutionary guards are killing innocent people in the street. I myself, I was a target of revolutionary guards in the